Yo, 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 what is going on, guys? Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Finally hosting a stream, finally, after so much time, and was planning on having a special guest this week, and we have one here, the Philly Shakedown. The Philly Shakedown, oh my God. See, this is why I can't do these, because I'm so used to one thing. The Philly Special Show is our guest today. What is going on, dude?
What's up, man? I appreciate you having me, and no, I'm excited. Not a better way to spend a Friday night talking birds and just chopping it up here. But no, I appreciate you having me on. I was talking before the show here, just the excitement of like whenever you reached out. This is awesome. I mean, I think some of the best things really is just to be able to talk about what are we seeing, what's the speculation, what are we wanting the team to do. So I'm excited. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and you know what? We talked a little bit, on Twitter here and there, and obviously the draft was really exciting. Pretty much the whole offseason, even going into the season, was kind of crazy. Losing the Super Bowl, obviously, it was really tough. It was really tough to get back on YouTube after that day. I mean, I really wanted to just disappear for a couple weeks, to be honest with you. The offseason was a big story this year because obviously Jalen Hurts had a really big year last year. And then, between all the free agents, you had 11 to 12 free agents on defense. Your offense really wasn't taking a big hit. Now, from this whole entire offseason standpoint, what did you think of the moves that Howie Roseman made, or what are your favorite ones? Just the moves in general, in your opinion.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, whenever you go back to the offseason, I know like the national narratives were like, okay, Philly's going to lose all these guys and we're going to be down. And, what did they kind of, mortgage the present to, or I guess mortgage the future to just try to win in the present. Now we're going to pay for it. But the fact that Howie was able to keep most all the guys, yeah, we lost some big names. I know Javon Hargrave and, you've got some other guys with the TJ Edwards, Kazir White and Marcus Epps, some of those. But like, to me, I would say he's got an A+ grade. Like, I did kind of a tweet as being just funny about it, but like made a little mock-up of Madden 24 cover and say, really, the only one who deserves it is Howie Roseman after this offseason, because you look at the moves that he's done and not even just the draft, which we could get into that, but just being able to retain both of your starting corners and have the restructuring, free up some more cap space, and bringing guys back who obviously kind of the feel of this team or the buy-in of this team is getting guys like a BG to say, no, I'm going to take less money. Like, I'll come back to Philly. Same thing for Fletcher Cox, because there's reports that, the Jets were going to pay him $12 million. And instead he's like, no, I'll take 10. And, you could say, well, is he worth it? Cause he's kind of showing some decline, but you fast forward to the draft and you get a guy like a Jalen Carter. You already have a Jordan Davis and have Fletch as the mentor there. I say, absolutely, he's worth it. But yeah, like, all of these acquisitions, all of the retaining of certain players that he's done, I give him an A+ grade. I don't know, like if I'm going to try to pick the favorite one between those, I really don't know what I would go with. Like maybe a James Bradberry, only because of like, you look at that deal and to me, just value wise, I feel like that might be the best value out of any of the deals of players that were, potentially going to lose or you having to retain, restructure. So maybe there, but there's so many you could pick. It's like you can't go wrong. You can name any of them really, and he did fantastic. So I'm hyped up. Obviously, as you could tell, like I can't wait for the season to get here. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, curious though, do you have a favorite? Like if you look back, a favorite acquisition or retaining, or I guess even draft for that matter.
I think the most surprising one was James Bradberry, but I think that only went through really because Chauncey Gardner-Johnson didn't sign. I think if they signed Chauncey, they wouldn't have signed Bradberry. And loyalty, that's what it came down to, like loyalty coming back to this roster. Obviously, Bradberry not getting 15, 16 million a year, coming back for 12, 13. Fletcher Cox coming back for less money. Like a lot of, you don't really get loyalty, but this is the culture that Nick Sirianni has built. And obviously this quarterback in Jalen Hurts that has gravitated players towards him. And players want to play for him and this team, that this team has a wide open shot for a long time, for championships. Unfortunately, we could put a lot of blame on a lot of things for that Super Bowl. I mean, besides the defense and besides, maybe the Jalen Hurts fumble, but obviously there was a lot of outside stuff during that game that, that didn't look too great. And we probably complain about that.
I know who you're talking about, but
dude, I'll complain about it. I don't care. Okay. I do not care about that. It's just looked like I've only watched Super Bowl 2 times and I was just like, man, how do I not complain about this? It's nuts. It's nuts. But
It really is.
realistically, yeah, I think they made some really good moves. Honestly, you have the June 1st era, thing approaching now, obviously June 1st for trades, free agents. What do you think, how many moves do you think the Eagles have left in them? And what do you think like they will upgrade immediately?
Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be a couple moves, and I've said it on a couple of shows that I've done. But the question that you're asking that I really don't know for sure is like the timing of it. It feels like it'll be later, because it also seems like it's prudent to say, okay, you know what, we've got a solid roster. Because truth be told, like if you said, hey, this group that we have, whittle it down to whatever the 53-man roster looks like, but the group that we have is who you're going to take into the season. I'm perfectly happy with it. Not saying that, there's some areas where I might look to solidify or get a little bit more acquisitions, but I'm not scared going into the season going like, oh no, we'll be having huge holes on this team. So it's a good place to be in. But yeah, I think that we'll see at least what feels realistic is that Howie will take this group into training camp, the team that we have now. I don't expect some big moves. I mean, unless all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe the Cardinals, because they seem to be just offloading everyone now. So you get like an Isaiah Simmons or Budda Baker. Those are the hot names, and I'd love to have those. But it still feels like this team's going to go into training camp, the one we see now. You figure out what guys are going to be able to kind of rise to the occasion and actually play really well. And then maybe Howie and Nick and the rest of the staff gets together and say, yeah, you know what? We're not really sure about safety or about linebacker or whatever position or even defensive end. And we need to add some more depth there. So I feel like it'll be after training camp. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if you do it beforehand, but then still, you can never put it past Howie because, you remember like last season, it was the very end of August that they got CJ Gardner-Johnson. And we know how great of an acquisition that was. So I definitely think, to answer your question a long way, I definitely think there's going to be a couple. I really think there'll be a couple moves that Howie makes before we start the regular season. And then the question that we all want to know, though, is like, what will those be? So yeah, the speculations, I'd love to see, all pro like Budda Baker, or you get a great guy like an Isaiah Simmons, now Patrick Queen for linebacker too. So there's the potential there. I think Nakobe Dean, to kind of take it onto the linebacker spot, I think Nakobe Dean is solidified. I mean, obviously he's got the green dot. You did a show talking about that. Like, he is going to be the signal caller on defense. But the question is like, okay, is Nicholas Morrow the guy that is going to be next to him? Or do you go through camp and say, yeah, we need to get someone else there? So that to me is one of the positions I think they'll definitely be looking at.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let me go through the names of the chat real quick. We got Ohana Means Family. What's going on, guys? We got Logan Motorsports, Bleeding Kelly Green. What's going on? Mike Halo, Giovanni, Romeo, Sydney Family, Chris. What's going on? Walt, what's going on? What's going on, everybody? I appreciate everybody coming on. We have 135 in the chat right now. If you guys haven't subscribed to the Philly special show at Josh, definitely check his channel out. His link is in the description below. Does a lot of great editing, great Eagles content creator, is going to be a legend sooner or later. It's going to happen. So
I appreciate
he's
that.
going to be on top of the world, man. I already see it. When I sense things, I can see it. And, and I appreciate you definitely coming on the channel today. No doubt.
No, I appreciate
Someone said
me.
I'm cheating on Philly 500. I am not.
No, I'm not getting in between that. Absolutely not. There's no cheating.
I gotta, we got our own stuff to do, bro. There's no big deal.
Absolutely.
We got a Romeo Town with $100 super chat, dude. You got to buy some groceries, do something with that. Feed the baby something. You don't got to do all that. He says, "Fly Eagles fly. Looking forward to the Eagles putting a hurting on Dallas in Jerry World this year."
I am too. Yes, I am going to be at that game, so I am looking forward to that one.
You're going to go in Dallas, right?
I am. Yep. Because for anybody that doesn't know, I live behind enemy lines, so I'm in Dallas. So that is the easiest game for me to get to. And I mean, for what it's worth, like the games that I've been to in person at Jerry World, the Eagles have won. So the record there is only 2-0. I know it's not a very large sample size, but still, like we got to keep that rolling. So this next year, I'm looking forward to it. I will be there.
Dude, I've always wanted to go to a game in Dallas. I always want to do that. I mean, maybe one day. I mean, I've seen Eagles in Dallas play in Philadelphia, which is great. I mean, I went to the Vikings-Eagles game last year, and I've been to a primetime game in years, and it was like, it's like playoff atmosphere. It's just crazy.
Yeah. I saw that. Didn't you have like 50-yard line seats for those? Or I thought I saw that.
I actually get I actually know a couple that owns 4 seats. And so usually they give me, seats for disc. I mean, seats are just crazy now and then you got to pay taxes and everything else. It's nuts. It's nuts. But, I know some people that, that will great. Yeah. They're about on the 50-yard. I mean, really any seat there is great. Like I've sat way up. I've sat end zone all the way up. I've sat almost everywhere. And it's been fine. I've had no issue. As long as I'm there, I really don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. The atmosphere is everything. My first Philly game was this past NFC Championship game against the Niners. So had never been to the Link before. Getting to experience, which I mean, I probably did myself a disservice now because it's like, all right, the level of expectation is so high. But I mean, just everyone that being amped up for the game, the excitement. But to your point, like I was kind of the back corner end zone, but it's still a great seat. I don't see how you'd have really a bad seat there, but it's really, really fun.
Nah, it's always a great time. To go back on, the free agents and stuff like that. So I obviously, I think it will be a wait and see approach when it comes, I think they want to see what they have first and then, maybe go down the line. But I think realistically for me, because I think they want to add more to the trenches and I feel like they go out and get another defensive end. I feel like as much as I feel like they need another body at linebacker, Nicholas Morrow's a low risk, high reward type signing, but we just don't know, 116 tackles last year. I know the Bears defense was really bad last year, so I get it. But Nakobe Dean, like in the pit of my stomach, yes, I feel like he's going to have a fantastic year, but I got to see it. I got to see from, Sean Desai's got, he got a new defensive coordinator now. I mean, it can't get any worse than it did last year. And it's amazing because we had a 14-win season, got to the Super Bowl, but it's just we complained throughout the year, early in the year, Gannon was taking his foot off the gas in so many games. And, Sean Desai is interesting because in 2021, as a apprentice to Vic Fangio for a few years as a quality control guy, and then really stepping up as a DC in 21 with not even the talent. This is going to be the best talent he's ever had defensively as a coordinator. I think it was like he was top 10 against the pass. I think he was bottom 10 against the run, which was a problem, but I mean, just probably not the right personnel. He can create ways to get get pressure on quarterbacks. I mean, he was top 5 in sacks. His blitz rate was 22.6, which, it's nice to hear that. But he's creative. I think we might, when you have, when Jordan Davis went down, I felt like it was like how he was like, here's Linval, here's Ndamukong Suh, now there's no excuse. Go out there and get it done. And then Jordan Davis came back, and really there was a lot of depth. I mean, the depth was just insanely crazy, but it just wasn't enough. I just felt like there was going to be a game that was going to outsmart this defensive coordinator. He was going to be beaten mentally as a coach, and it happened. And, after the reports came out of, he was not laughing, but he was smug after the game, and he was
giddy.
I didn't like it, and why the Eagles had to really pay the price for the tampering situation and all of that with Gannon, which I don't know why that's on the Eagles more than him.
Right.
They lost a 5th round pick, and then they ended up getting a higher 3rd round pick from it. So it wasn't like bad. Like I guess it helped us, but we were wondering why they left him in Arizona, and thank God.
I'm with you. Yeah. I mean, if there were any doubts, any questions, which I was very excited to not see that, but yeah, if there were any doubts or any questions, I think his interviews like pre-draft and his whole lying that he was being, when we're undefeated, he's told we want you fired and all this other stuff. Yeah, there's some pressure, but like, come on. And the saying that they were 9-0 when we weren't, it's so many like the fact checkers, because I love that. As soon as something gets out on the internet, it's like, for sure whether it's right or wrong, because it doesn't take long before someone says, wait a second, which is what happened to him. And yeah, seeing that. And then obviously too, like, I think the Cardinals, do you question or wonder if like, are they sitting there going, maybe he wasn't the right guy, because like he didn't have a post-draft presser, and that rarely, or I don't know when that normally happens, because you usually are going to say, let's let our coach actually talk to the media and talk about these players. But I think he had already done enough discredit to the Cardinals organization where they say, let's keep you behind the scenes for a little bit longer. We don't want you out there. So I laugh about it because yes, it looks like this is a whole dumpster fire season waiting to happen. You're getting rid of your wide receiver for nothing. You're releasing DeAndre Hopkins. Sure, maybe you couldn't get a great trade done, but it looks like they're like, get something, right? Yeah. And don't like use all of the salary cap for this season, right? Because they just say, oh, we're going to take the hit for this year, which is fine, but you're setting up Gannon for even more failure. But to me, I laugh at it. I love it. The only downside that I see so far is that we may not get a revenge game against Gannon, because the thing that would save him is if he gets canned before they play Philly, with it being so late in the season. I hope that doesn't happen, because I actually want him to come back to Philly. But yeah, I'm super excited that we actually did move on, and to see what Sean Desai does, because I'm sure if you were like me and pretty much everybody else, when Desai spoke, it was funny that it took him so long to actually have a presser. But when he did, and the whole, hey, I feel like my mantra is the defense embodies the city and Philly and that physicality, and we're going to be violent. I know Reed Blankenship said like the main theme so far is just being violent on defense. I mean, come on. Like, I am super amped up for the season. So yeah, it's all thumbs up for me.
Yeah, him saying like, I want to hurt quarterbacks physically and mentally, and I mean, it was great. It was great to hear that. I couldn't even complain. Like I said, I know it's all talk. I understand that he's got to prove it. I get it. I feel like they got something here. At least they tried. At least they went out into the college pool and they tried to go out, maybe Glenn Schumann, or I don't know. They tried to get somebody. You know what I mean? Because there's you're gonna have to. You can't just rely on what's in the NFL. You have to think outside the box sometimes and get another coach in here. So I totally get that, you know what I mean? But, with Gannon, and even over there, like the DeAndre Hopkins stuff, like, I mean, like now it's June, the guy gets released. It's so late. Like, and he's, what is he looking at money wise? Like, what do you think you're getting? I mean, if he was like released by like March in free agency or something like that, then I would totally understand. Then he can get, but sure. You're in June. Teams have spent their cap, like, you need to go after that 1 year deal. And I'm like, not even like approve it, but I mean, he's still a good player. I feel like he could still play. I mean, I feel like he's a valuable 1 to a number 2. I feel like even as a number 3 in Philadelphia, let the rich get richer. And that's what this whole entire offseason has been. And even with Arizona right now, like, a lot of these players don't even want to stay there. I mean, a lot of these players want to.
Nope. They're ready. They're jumping ship. They're like, hey, you know what? I see the writings on the wall. Not only were you not going to win this year, but you kidding me? This is our head coach. Like, how many players went and watched the whole pew 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 clip? Again, and they're like, wait, what? Like that's our head coach? I mean, come on. Like, as soon as I saw, I was like, you got to be kidding me. He's joking there. And the fact that I can't remember the name escapes me, but who was the player, the receiver that he's doing that to? Like, the fact that he's able to keep a straight face in that scenario, I'm like, kudos to you. Cause I'd be like, who is this jokester? Like, are you serious right now? Like, I couldn't get enough of it.
I have no idea. Yeah, I totally forgot about that video. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Like, you walk up to a player and start doing that. What the hell
what is this
doing, bro? I don't even know.
These are grown men. Like, what in the world? Oh
my
gosh.
So it's just I don't know. I'm just glad it's over with. And like, because really, like, before what was it after the NFC Championship game, he said it was after he was staying, like, no, I'm staying here. And I'm like, yep. Damn.
I know it.
I said, if he wins the Super Bowl, he's probably going to stay. He's not going to throw the game away.
Oh, no. Yeah. He was telling everybody right then and there. He was like, no, I'm not leaving. That's definitely not happening, which who knows? I know there's different kind of contracting, like, or the reports themselves are saying like, well, there's contradictory statements and what does he actually say? But I mean, like, he went right on camera and says verbatim, like, I'm staying. And then he comes back and it's like, well, obviously he wasn't. And maybe he was interviewing with the Cardinals. So I don't know. To me, it's weird. It's an odd look. I'm excited he's gone. I'm excited Desai is here. And to your point earlier, Joey, Desai said the right things, but it comes time where, in the season, we're going to have to see that. Like, it's one thing to say it, but now you got to prove it. And I hope that he can, because the knock on the defense for a couple years at least has been, hey, you play any quarterback just average or barely above average. And if you have them on your fantasy team, you better start the quarterback because they're going to have a great game against Philly. Like, that's always been the knock. And whether it's kind of the combination of you maybe don't blitz enough, aren't confusing the quarterback, there's not enough in-game adjustments, which a lot of that is on Gannon. I don't know, but I'm curious to see, because we both know, like, if you look at the schedule, it's not lacking for quarterback talent that we have on that. So it's going to be a time to prove it. And I'm hopeful. I want to believe, and so far there's no reason to doubt it, but I want to believe that Gannon, him being gone and Desai in now, he's going to have the adjustments. He's going to have the in-game adjustments. He's going to get this defense ready. And like he said, we're going to affect quarterbacks mentally, physically, and emotionally. Like, we're going to impact it very, very much in those games. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it really can't get any worse. I mean, there's no way it can get worse than that. I mean, your defense could have been historic last year. This could have been the most. I mean, Hassan Reddick early in the year was in coverage. I mean, it's more of not even an edge rusher. I mean, it's insane how successful I mean, these players were bailing out Gannon left and right. I mean, it was just. This defense was so good that the talent, like, just a little bit of coaching and what this defense could have just been. I mean, I don't know. It just really annoyed me. I saw the signs early, but I was like, we're winning, what am I complaining about? But, but when you get to that most important game of the year and that's your worst game of the season, really. I mean, it's the most important game of the season, but, I can't get to. I don't know why I can't. I don't know why. I don't know if StreamYard's messing up or the chat's not updating or something's going on. Oh, now wait. Yeah, it's not. I don't know. The chat's being weird. I don't know why it's not updating. That's weird. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah, the chat's being funny. We have a super chat from 007. I do truly apologize. I don't know why StreamYard never does this. I don't know why it's doing it. Super chat, appreciate it so much. I truly hope the two of you, Philly Mike 500 and Mott, consider a weekly show. It would definitely be a huge hit. Yeah, dude, we definitely talk about it, man. I've been so busy, especially when the off season, especially when, a couple weeks in June, and then really we're going to hit that dead zone real soon. And that's when I really start to focus on other things like my house that I live in. I never get to do any work in. Like, I'm just sitting here like a hermit every day, I know you're busy. You're very busy. So.
It is, yeah. It's to your point. It's like, man, whenever you get some free time, and we were talking about it before, but I got a little vacation. My wife and I celebrating the anniversary and going away with some family to Hawaii. But yeah, if you get any free time like that, you got to take it. It sounds like you need the vacation. Like, is it coming up? Is that what you said? Or like you need to plan one? Because you've been going like nonstop. That's what it seems like.
No, I mean, you need a brain break. I mean, you need like usually when I go on vacation, I'll schedule a whole bunch of videos for the week. Like, I'll schedule a whole bunch this way. Like, I take like 1 week off officially. So then, if something pops up, then obviously I'll do something. But I mean, sometimes you need that mental break as well. And it's a good thing, man. You know what I mean? Kind of recharge the batteries before training camp and then getting into the joint practices and all that great stuff. So we'll see.
For sure.
Got Chris Scott, member for 19 months. Appreciate it so much, man. He said, I would love adding Yannick and Patrick Queen instead of adding Hopkins. I honestly wouldn't mind that, as much as I feel like they added defensive end, because there's still a lot of good defensive ends out there. There really is. I mean, Yannick Ngakoue still out there. Remember the time you wanted to play with the Eagles so badly when he was leaving Jacksonville and all those tweets? Oh my God, that was a big tease. I couldn't even deal with it at that time.
Oh, I know it. Yeah.
Leonard Floyd and Frank Clark. I mean, there's still a lot of there's still a lot of defensive ends left. I still think, and I agree with you, I still think they need to add, I wouldn't mind another body at linebacker, because we don't know what Nicholas Morrow could do. I'm really behind that. I don't even know. But behind those two, I really don't know. Like, Davion Taylor, I thought had a really good 21 season. I thought him and Edwards really played really well. Then he had the knee injury. Then he was gone. Then he came back to the offseason program, and then he got hurt again. So I don't, and plus we didn't really have, Kaiser White. I don't know what you thought about the linebackers this past year. Even Kaiser White was interesting, because I felt like his preseason was real strong, offseason was real strong, and then kind of like disappeared during the year. I mean, I don't know what you thought about that group.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting. I felt like they played well enough, and a lot of times it seems like that's what this team is about, is the linebacker position play well enough, and the other areas are going to cover it up, specifically with the D line. So it wasn't. I guess as we were talking about, or we were talking about previously, the free agents and the signings and, players that we lost and everything, like I didn't like losing guys like Kazir White and TJ Edwards, but at the same time, like out of all the guys that you're going to lose, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, like we're going to be terrible. It was okay, cool. Like who's going to step up? We know Nakobe Dean's there. You drafted him for a reason. Like who's number 2? Who's the other guy that's going to go with him? So I don't know. To me, it doesn't feel like as big of a deal, I guess, or just the fact that, you had a player like that rose to the occasion, because I feel like, again, you go back to the D-line. If the D-line is eating up blocks, and if Jordan Davis is going to take that next step, which, who knows, but it seems like the way that he looks in OTAs and how he's shown up in shape, maybe he's going to be a wrecking ball, and you got Jalen Carter there who's going to be going and just feasting on the D-line as well, and you've got all the other depth that the linebacker's job is a lot easier at that point, so I don't know. Those two positions, as with everything else, it's complementary football, but I'm not concerned. I think it just comes down to really, is Morrow going to be the right player, especially from like a coverage linebacker standpoint? And that's the part I don't know, because and you take it with a grain of salt, because Pro Football Focus grades, sometimes they're spot on and sometimes they're not. But, Morrow is not a great grading in terms of pass coverage for a linebacker. So, it just questions like, okay, what positions do you put him in? And is he going to be the primary coverage linebacker as you have Dean, in there at the middle? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see that, or do you go and grab someone else? But I'm not as concerned, kind of like what we've been talking about. I think D-line is the most important. So, maybe you look at getting a defensive end, because I think that depth would be good. I think you talked about, I think you talked about Leonard Floyd for a little bit, right? Like you did a show on that, I thought a week ago or a couple weeks ago, but I mean, that to me makes a lot of sense from a number of reasons, but he's got the connection with Desai too, from the Bears time. So I don't know. I think there's going to be acquisitions, just like, who are they going to be? Linebacker to me is probably not the top priority. But again, it doesn't hurt to have another body, like you mentioned.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Howie's not paying linebackers. It just doesn't. Right. It just doesn't happen. So, when you already knew Nakobe Dean was a sponge in that room at Nick Rallis last year, you knew he was going to get a shot. And even the few times that he played, even those little sample sizes he got when we were up by multiple touchdowns, got some snaps. He played really well. Like, it wasn't enough. No, do I feel like maybe he should have got some playing time during the year last year? Definitely. But it's a nice starting point right now, and if I'm going to make it, obviously, I know Howie loves to do this. He loves to trade for players. I think with the Chauncey, Gardner-Johnson thing, I think when he traded those 2 draft picks for him, I think there was consideration. Obviously, he was going to sign him long term, but it was such a backloaded contract. It was kind of like, hey, I'll give you $3 million this year, next year, and then give you the rest of it. The last year, which you knew he wasn't getting all that money his last year.
No. The plan was you're being offloaded at that point. It's like, all right, take it or leave it. But yeah, I don't think that one was ever going to happen. But it at that point is like, okay, obviously you had some questions or some concerns, at least, on Howie's side, because he's saying, here's what we can consider doing. But if you're going to be a child about it and tweet all the time, then you know what? Maybe not. Let's just stick with these vets here. We've got some good corners. We'll figure out the safety position a different way. So let's get out of that one. But it was kind of surprising. Yeah, it was still, because I initially thought like, oh yeah, the report was they're going to franchise tag him, but then it's like, well, Philly never does that, or Howie never does that, so they won't. But they'll get a deal done. Don't have any concerns. And then it just kept going on. And the longer it went, it's like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? I'm trying to read between the lines here. And then obviously we saw how that turned out. So I think we're going to be good. I think we're going to be fine. You question too, like, with safety, Blankenship played well when he had to come in, step in for CJ. And you draft a safety in Sidney Brown. There's a lot of hype around him. Obviously, Terrell Edmonds there. Terrell Edmonds was getting the first team snaps with Blankenship yesterday. So there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of battling. Edmonds gave a lot of praise, it sounded like, to Brown in his interview. If you heard that, he was talking about like, hey, Brown's mentality, the way that he attacks, every single day. I think he's going to be in this league for a long time. So, a guy that you're kind of positional battling with, you don't have to say that about. So I thought that's pretty cool. It says something about the character. But I'm interested to see, like, does this rookie step up? Is this one of those guys that's going to be playing day one? I don't know. I think there's a chance, from the reports. But at the same time, you could just as well see Edmonds the starter.
Yeah, what I didn't realize, like, and people are like, dude, you didn't know that? I'm like, no, because I just didn't know that. And with the Red Star players, with when they, these scouts have their Red Star player that they want, and what exemplifies this player that he represents being a Philadelphia Eagle when it comes to obviously his play, his determination, work ethic, tape study, and Sidney Brown was that guy. And, I think it was what, top 3, top 4 in this conference. And I think pass coverage, but even at the Senior Bowl, I thought he did really well too. Like he was facing 4-3, wide receivers. He was keeping up with them, and big tight ends. He was deflecting really everything. He was doing a really good job. And when they drafted him, some people thought some fans thought they drafted him too high, but if the value is there and that's the position of need, there was rumors going around even the first day of OTAs when the beat writers were there that, he was reminding of Buda Baker, that, he was flying all over the field. He was making tackles. Reed Blankenship has had a really good sample size last year. I mean, I'm glad they gave him a shot, and, I don't think his coverage skills are great, but as a downhill contact safety, I think he's pretty legit. I think he's A+. Like Chauncey was, a really good ball hawk, but his tackling wasn't, at times, wasn't great, but when, he made his tackles when he could. Safety is going to be interesting. They added a lot of, I didn't think they were going to make a trade for Kevin Byard or some of these, or Buddha or some of these other guys, just because they've already kind of put some bodies there already. And I think, even with Keely Ringo too, like I feel like even with him, like they should do something else with him instead of waiting 3 years for him to be a starter, because at the end of the day, Bradbury's contract's up in 3, Slays is up in 2, and then you're just going to wait that long until he's, ready. I don't know. I feel like he's got the body for it. I feel like he's got the tackling ability for it. I think Keely Ringo could really cross-train to that safety spot. They should do that with a few guys, especially at corner, since, they tried doing it, but it should be interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up. Yeah, definitely with the cross training, he's got the athleticism. So, give him some time to get acclimated to the speed of the game, take some reps, see how he handles it there. And who knows, an injury to someone, he has to step up and make some plays there. I'd be interested to see it. It feels like he's one of those guys, because he's so young. There is some raw part to his game, but like just with his potential and the athleticism there, the way that he also wants to get better, it seems like you can't go wrong with a Georgia player on defense, which is obviously why Howie went after those. But I mean, like interview after interview, I keep waiting on, because it always seems like you get someone and you hear an interview and you're like, okay, like that's okay, but it's not exactly what I want to hear. But it's like every single play, every rookie really, but like definitely the Georgia one, it's like, are you kidding me? Like the season needs to get here today, because it's just so much hype after hearing them. But yeah, the fact that they come in ready to learn, ready to grow, attack each and every day, I'm excited for. Like I want to see him out there absolutely cross-train. If you got the athletes, I think it also just tells the sign even more so, which, we kind of knew this with Desai being a Fangio disciple and having the different types of schemes. He loves playmakers. Like he loves athletes and he loves playmakers. So just because you say, quote unquote, they're playing safety or they're playing linebacker, doesn't mean you're going to line up in that position or you're going to play that whenever it actually comes time to snap. So it'll be interesting to see, but you can't have too many playmakers. One of them that I'd be curious to know your thoughts, but it feels like this is just a fan favorite, but like Nolan Smith to me, man, like if you want to say doesn't necessarily have a specific like position that he's playing, but you want to just name him the playmaker, I feel like he could be lined up all over the field with this Desai defense. But I mean, the hype is just unreal. Like his emotion, his happy juice energy that he said that he's on, that like BG, like this kid is incredible. There's a reason that I bought his jersey. I'm waiting for it to come in. My wife, even who's actually from Wisconsin, so she's a Packers fan, but she even was like hyped enough to say like, "Oh yeah, I got to get a jersey of Nolan Smith." So if that tells you something, but I can't wait to see it, man. Just seeing what this guy does in the Desai defense. What do you think? Though, like expectations for him, though, yeah, because there are a lot of guys, right? But just curious to know what you think about Smith.
No, Smith is, as much as I went to this draft and everyone's like, well, he's, even everybody on TV too was like, well, they got to take Carter Smith. And I was like, I wasn't And I was like, I don't know if it's going to be too early to take Smith. I felt like it was too early. I felt like I feel like somebody else was going to drop there. The way that they lined up, even with Smith, like, because he's so fast, and obviously with, a 4.43 speed, I mean, in 20 years as a defensive end is just insane. Some people think he's undersized. Some people, I think there's more to it. I think he just has one of the best. I think he's just a hunter. I think he's just one of the best technique type defensive ends that are out there. How Georgia kind of lined him up real wide outside and really picking the poison of the offensive tackle going inside, outside. Like, it was just so fun to watch him. And then finally, when we got to our pick, and realistically, I didn't think they were picking 2 defensive linemen in the first round. I mean, obviously I was on the Bijan train. All right. I'll just say it. I was okay. I didn't think 2 running backs. Like, I didn't think Gibbs was going to go top. I didn't think he was. What it was?
No.
14. That kind of ruined everything. I was like, why did Gibbs get drafted so early? I mean, good talent, but I felt like they could have waited on him.
I was shocked too. Yeah, I couldn't believe it, and just from the tweeting back and forth, and I was on the Draft 5 train too. Like, once you guys started that, I'm like, yep, heck yeah, I want to see it. I want to see Bijan with this team. But once it didn't happen, and Jalen's still there, I was like, well, I thought he'd be gone, 2, 3, 4, 5, definitely not still available at 9. So yeah, it was shocking. And then Gibbs, like you mentioned, 13.
I firmly believe they would have picked him at. I firmly believe they would have picked him at 9. If he wasn't taken by the Falcons at 8, look, the reason why I was kind of like, why with the Falcons? I know they drafted an offensive lineman, so I get it. They don't even know if they have a quarterback yet. They just don't know yet. And to draft a running back top 10, not even knowing if you have the right guy at quarterback, just kind of made me nervous for the Falcons a little bit. It just, I don't know. I mean, I hope he has a good career there. Hopefully, he's a great talent. But I mean, Jalen Carter was the second best player on my board, second best talented player. So when they picked Jalen Carter up, and I think really when Carter was drafted, that moment when he was drafted, he was so emotional going to the stage, and I feel like that really just. Obviously, of course, it changed his life, but I'm just saying it really did change his life, because I think the mentorship that you have on this team with all these Georgia players, especially a big mentor guy like Jordan Davis, which I think Jordan Davis, and we'll get into him, but obviously I think the most important piece of this defense is Jordan Davis. He commands those double teams. Obviously can make other players very successful. I think he's the most important piece that really has to work out, especially for your defensive line. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's very, very crucial, and I don't know if that was an attempt at a pun there. It's actually good if you did, but the biggest piece of the defense, he's a giant man. So, but no, he is. To me, it's like, what can we expect from JD? Because I think he played fairly well until the injury, and
right.
Ankle injuries are tough to come back from, especially for a defensive line, especially for a big guy like him. And so, it's like, seeing this next step, what he can take, are they going to ask him to play a little bit more on third down? I don't think that he's going to get much on the pass rush, just because that's not what you're asking, and nor does this team predicate on it. You have the rotational pass rush, you're rotating bodies in, they're fresh, and that's what has success. So I don't think you're going to see too much change there, but it's like, when he is on the field, do we see a little extra spark? Do we see a little bit more of that kind of acceleration or that jolt in him actually being able to really impact the defensive line? And I think that we do. I think we will see that. It's easy to just judge based on like a picture and a couple clips, because everybody's going to say that their team looks phenomenal this time of year, unless you're the Buccaneers, that seeing Baker Mayfield throwing. But yeah, but other than those, it looks phenomenal. But still, it's like, okay, if he's taking that next step, and there's the extra motivation now because he's got his guys with him, like these are the Georgia Dogs that he played with. I agree. If he can come in and be the wrecking ball, be the guy that just blows up the offensive line on opposing teams, then I mean, the sky's the limit. Like I could see us easily surpassing the 70 sacks, whether, it's him actually being on the pass rush, or it's just keeping guys fresh to say, oh, it's third down because they couldn't get a yard running, and now let's rotate him out, and here you go, just go after it, pin your ears back and get even more sacks. It seems crazy that could happen. But yeah, I think if he takes that next step, he is one of the biggest kind of advocates for it. And Nakobe Dean having a good year, like we've talked about earlier, a D line is going to set the tone for the linebacker, especially a guy like Nakobe Dean. So I'm with you on it for sure.
Yeah, it is. If you don't have extra juice by playing with your ex teammates, like it's a star. I mean, come on now. You have to have that extra juice there.
Yeah.
Like no joke. I mean,
'Cause
that's
that's what
why
you dream
this
about.
never happens with teammates. It never does. It never does.
Absolutely. No, because you're dreaming it, right? I mean, they're all talking about it, I'm sure, at Georgia, because they know they're good enough. They're all going to go to the league, but it's like the dream, like, oh man, how awesome would it be to play on the same team,
Right.
And then it actually does. So yeah, the hype is through the roof, the motivation, and I think even more so, it works both sides, because it's like, it was surprising, I'm sure, for Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean to both go to the same team last year. They're like, oh, sweet, that's legit, that's awesome. But then Jalen Carter and you got now Nolan Smith that are both joined too. So it's like, for both the rookies coming in and the second year players, like, sweet, like, this is the reunion. You got the band back together now. So yeah, I think they're all hyped for it.
Yeah, it's crazy. We got 186 in the chat right now. I don't know what's going on. The chat is not working on the phone. It's working on here. It has never happened.
Yeah, I noticed
before,
that. That's
but
so
it's not updating the chat at all. It's like still stuck at 8:31 p.m., which was a while ago. So,
I took a look for a second. I was like, wow, everybody just died down. There's no more comments. But now I see the phone. I'm like, okay, here we go.
The number of people on StreamYard is not the number on YouTube. It's weird. I don't know. This has never happened. I guess it's bad luck, because maybe I have to train the system to, because I haven't streamed in so damn long by myself or with somebody out here. So I don't know. But if you guys have it, make sure you subscribe to Josh of the Philly Special Show. His link is in the description below. He just hit over 5,000 subscribers really quick, and it's just going to get more. By meantime, you'll have 50, even 100,000 subscribers. It will happen.
We'll see. I appreciate that.
I pray for you, all the clips you use, because I respect you, my good friend, because I don't know how you do it, but
it's a dangerous game, but I appreciate that.
Dude, YouTube is no joke. It's no joke. So, yeah, I appreciate it. Everybody definitely subscribe if you guys haven't. Link in the description for his channel is there. So I have to read super chats on the phone, obviously, because I don't know what's going on. But Sydney Family with the super chat says, tylersteen looking like another Howie hit, 6'6", 325, a big right guard. What do you think of tylersteen?
I like him. I mean, and that's not saying much. If Stoutland picked him, then that's a very good bet to go on. So if Stoutland likes him, I like him, and seeing what he does there. I don't know. I go back and forth on, like, okay, who's going to actually be the starting right guard as of today? And you could even sign someone. I know DJ Fluker was having some workouts. Nothing has transpired yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were to say, yeah, let's sign him, bring him to camp, and see what happens there. But I like him. I think that Steen is raw, because he has not played at right guard except for the Senior Bowl. In some of the clips and highlights that you see, he performed, pretty good, relatively well. And again, good enough where Stout says, I can work with that. But, you could also make the argument of the case, like, no one was lining up for Jordan Mailata. Like, that's not a pick that all of a sudden, well, oh my gosh, he's going to be phenomenal at left tackle. So yeah, if Stout likes him, I'm all on board for it. And I think there is a lot of potential, like Sydney Family mentions. Like, he's a big guy, has an incredible athleticism grade based on the combine and based on his measurables. So yeah, you put him next to the group there. I don't know, because I know Brian Baldinger went on earlier in the week and said that Lane Johnson doesn't want to play next to, he said next to Cam Jurgens. I can't imagine that Lane's going to just put it out there and say verbatim, I don't want to play with that guy. I feel like it was more of, I don't want to play next to, like, a smaller sized frame guy. But whether that means Cam or whether it just means in general, I don't know. I don't think that this team's taking shots on anybody. So there were some people that were like, oh my gosh, he's taking a shot at Cam. I don't think that he's doing that. But it still wouldn't surprise me if you say, well, because of that, you get a big body guy like a Brandon Brooks. The argument was like Isaac Seumalo too, but it's weird, because if you go look, everything says that the two, Cam Jurgens and Isaac Seumalo, are very close in size. But then Baldinger was saying that no, Seumalo played close to like 335 last year. So maybe he did. And the chart and everything else that shows the measurements are saying that he was much lighter. But I don't know. At this point in time, I'm really 50-50, because I think that Cam has a leg up naturally, because he's been in the system. He's familiar with the offense. He's got a year under his belt, even though he didn't play a whole lot, but he's actually still used to the speed of the game. And I think he's got a crazy work ethic and a crazy motor. So it wouldn't surprise me if he took that spot. But then, on the flip side of the token, Tyler Steen has a ton of potential, and I wouldn't put it past Stout if he says, nope, that's my guy. That is going to be the guy. Give me an offseason to work with him, and we'll be ready day one. It wouldn't surprise me. But I don't know that I'm 50-50. I can't decide, obviously, as you could tell. But do you have a favorite right now? Like, who's going to be the right guard?
I have a feeling it could be Steen because obviously the blind side for Bryce Young, and has the physicality to play right guard. It's gonna be tough. It's tough for me because as much as Cam is, I guess to everyone, is undersized as much as Kelsey is. Really last year in the offseason when Kelsey was getting the orthoscopic elbow surgery and stuff, I mean, really, Jurgens was supposed to play a lot of guard. And because he was out, he had to really, which I have no problem with him playing center in the offseason because, we know he's either an extra lineman on red zone or something like that, or on special teams, a special team lineman or something during the season. So he's getting some playing time here and there, but to redshirt him for another year, and then you only have, 2 more years to really get the most out of him. I trust Stout with everything he does with these offensive linemen. I really don't even question it anymore because going into this offseason, I totally forgot that Stoutland wasn't even on contract. I mean, he had to sign another deal, so I was like, I wasn't even thinking about that. So when that happened, I was like really happy that, he wasn't trying to go back to Alabama and get another offensive line job or whatever. So I'm glad he didn't move anywhere. But even, I probably don't remember his name. They're trying out guys like the 32-year-old tackle, the guy that's kind of coming back into the league. What's his name?
DJ Fluker.
Yeah, I was saying his name. I was calling him DJ Flucker, and everyone's like, "It's not Flucker, it's Fluker." I'm like, I'm not cursing. I'm saying,
careful with the Freudian slip. That doesn't work out too well.
I don't know. Every time I say someone's name wrong, like Alamadi Zacchaeus, like people are like, "You're saying his name wrong." I'm like, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. There's so many names that I've had like that too. It's like, all right, I'll say it wrong for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden someone's like, "Hey, it's this." Okay, cool. All right, now I'll switch and start saying it up the right way. But
right. I think didn't the beat writers were there for the first, well, not the first day of OTAs, but were there. So Cam Jurgens was starting at right guard. Am I correct?
I think he was. I need to actually
saw
go back
on the list.
check.
I saw him.
I
thought he was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right on it.
I think what I'm really excited about. We'll go to this one super chat real quick. Brosnan, what's going on, man? Thank you for the super chat. Says Jonathan Gannon as head coach reminds me of Michael Scott running The Office. It's pretty bad.
That's not a bad analogy though. That's not a far stretch, as sad as it is. I mean, you take some. You could, that'd be great actually. I there's no way I have the time for it, but it just comes to mind, the editing and whatnot. Take the Office theme music and play some of the, the pew 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 and him lying about Philly, and you just do a little mantra out of that little montage. I think that would be hilarious. You could have some gold stuff right there, some content to publish. So that's a great analogy. Yeah, he's definitely running The Office.
Yeah, like you said, I hope he comes back to Philly. I hope he makes it by the end of the year. Because really, when Chip left and he signed with the 49ers as the head coach, and we were facing the 49ers that next year, and he was fired before that even happened, I was like, man, I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that whole thing.
I was too. The revenge game. That's what I want. Just all right. Let's take it to you.
Sydney family with the super chat says, "Can't believe Eagles got Penny and Swift." Now this is where I was like, I think really your offense was still intact this offseason. Really, Samala left in free agency really late. I mean, I don't get why he left so late. Why wasn't he one of the top offensive guards to be signed? I don't know what happened with that. Was he injured? Was something going on?
That was strange to me. Yeah, it would seem like he would be gone really early, and then as time went on, it was kind of like, okay, are we somehow gonna keep him, or are they gonna restructure something, or get a deal done that he actually likes, or is he not getting too much interest from other teams? But I was surprised too whenever that happened. And obviously, he does go to the Steelers, but even when he left, right, it didn't make as. I know CJ was grabbing all the headlines, so maybe that's why. But still, it's it felt like he should have gotten a lot more recommendation, or just kind of some more highlights there. And it was like, oh, he's gone. okay, move on, next thing. And so I don't know, it was really surprising, the whole situation, to your point, like not happening early on, and then he does go and we don't hear about it too much. So it was crazy. But yeah, the Penny and Swift acquisitions, obviously the Penny signing just to see what he can do, and then DeAndre Swift in the draft. I'm pumped for the running back room, man. Like Penny, to me, this is what he does so well, and is one of the many things that he's so far ahead of other GMs as. Like, you take a player who is a very low risk, high reward type of guy like Rashad Penny, and yeah, he's got some injury problems, but so what? Like, okay, you know what? Bring him here, because when he's healthy, he is a beast on offense, and he's over 6 yards a carry. So, like, when that happened, I thought to myself, okay, this could be good. You got Rashad Penny, you got Kenny Gainwell, but I wasn't thinking we're going to go get someone else in the draft unless it was actually drafting Bijan. So once that didn't happen, I'm like, well, I guess that's our running back room. The next thing they trade for Swift. I mean, this is insane. I can't wait to see just how the dynamic is. You've got the potential there, and then Rashad Penny, if he stays healthy, like the rushing yards in this is going to be insane. You line up any of them.
Howie Roseman, like during the third, like, it's weird because the third day of the draft would not be the most exciting day, and it was actually the busier day than the second.
Yeah.
The second day, it was nuts because before the draft started, it was like they moved up tremendously. Before the draft started, they moved up, and I was like, they moved up all the way. I forgot what number it was. They moved up, and it was like, oh, they're going after Keely Ringo. Like he was still on the board, and they were doing whatever they possibly could to get up there, and they got him. And then it was like DeAndre Swift got, there was rumors like the day before, I think the second or first day, there was rumors that, if Swift was going to be the focal point with the Lions, and obviously like the way that the war room celebrated when, Gibbs got drafted, they were like they just struck gold. Like they just dug up like, they
struck oil and they're done. They're just,
oh yeah. And then a 2025 4th round pick. I mean, that's just like, he only missed 3 games last year, but still, like, you got like a bona fide 1,000-yard receiver if he stays healthy behind. I mean,
yeah,
Swift has never played with a mobile quarterback since high school. Like, just like Hurts and Swift, like, that's just insane.
It's unfair. It's ridiculous, because also it's like, if you get to the end of the season and you say like, we're not actually going to re-sign him, and he signs with another team, the compensatory pick is probably what, a 4th rounder, a very early 5th rounder. So you got him for free. Like, you're going to get another draft pick back for it. Yeah. I was blown away, but I was like, I was actually watching you guys I was 30,000 feet. Actually, I was on the plane, and I was like watching the third day, and I didn't think it'd be as crazy. And all of a sudden this news starts breaking. I'm like, there's a little bit of FOMO there, because you're like, you gotta be kidding me. This all happens on day 3. Who would have thought that? No. But yeah, I was so pumped when that happened, because there's almost like zero risk. You talk about like low risk. There's like zero risk in acquiring this. And then to your point, you match him up with Jalen and this O-line. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the running back. Like, people are like, well, you can't replace a 1,000-yard running back with these guys, with Miles Sanders. I'm like, they could have paid Miles Sanders. They only got $6 million a year. I mean, it was affordable. They could have got it done. But when you look at Miles Sanders, like, he was one of my favorite players here. But like, I thought like really Doug Pierce. I mean, his rookie year. I mean, they really showcased what Miles can do as like a dual threat type, running back in the passing game. And that's another thing. Like, I really want these running backs in the passing game. Just imagine having these wide receivers, tight ends, and everything else, and having these running backs in the passing game. So I kind of sit here and I'm like, Miles was used his rookie year. He was great. I thought he played really well. Then really the last 2 years, the next 2 years, he was either dropping balls, fumbling, or, he was getting hurt. I mean, that was just a huge problem. I felt like Doug valued Miles a lot more, just like kind of Doug, valued Greg Ward a lot more, because really, when do you really see Greg Ward in this offense as a backup? I mean, really not anymore.
Yeah.
This is Nick's team now. So I think when you really look at the running back situation, they've really wanted those like 5'10", 5'11", 210, 15 or higher type backs, like, Kennedy Brooks, Trey Sermon, 5'10", 5'11", 220. You know what I mean? Like, they've wanted those type of backs. The Trey Sermon thing, obviously, we got the question like every time I do a live stream or a video, it's like, Trey Sermon. Oh, what about Trey Sermon? What about Trey? I'm like, stop with the Trey Sermon. Like every week. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know why they used him for 2 snaps in that Jags game, and they were just like, whatever.
I thought we were about to see a lot. I'm with you. Like when he came, I'm like, okay, let's see how this plays out. And then it was the biggest tease ever. Are you serious? Like that's it? That's all we're gonna get to see of him? So no, I'm with you on that. But yeah, you keep getting questions of, are we gonna see more of him? And Nick's high on him apparently, but it's like, well, at the same time, he's 4th on the depth chart, so you're not that high on him. But we've got a lot of other great options. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and look, Penny was, Penny only, played 3 games last year. He's been dealing with injuries, and I think the better thing is he got injured, early, and now he had more time to rehab, so it wasn't like he got hurt in the playoffs or he got hurt real late, with with an ACL or something like that or whatever it was. So, for $600,000 for the year plus adding some incentives to that, it's he's playing for himself. He's playing for a contract with another team. There has been some rumors. Obviously, it was like a month ago, probably like 4 weeks ago, something like that. That there was some rumors that there could be Swift could be resigned. Maybe he could sign another like a short-term deal with the Eagles or something like that. So. I don't know why. Like, I mean, he's repping that, Agent Zero jersey now. It's first in Eagles history.
Looks pretty sweet.
It looks great. Who wouldn't want that number, man? Like, it's as much as I don't like the number thing because I feel like it really cheats out of people like buying jerseys, like because people first round picks that get picked, fans might buy their jerseys, and then by next year they might change the number, and then you're like, that's why I bought a jersey with my last name on it because I don't got to worry about that anymore. But I'm still gonna the Kelly Greens. I'm definitely excited for though.
Oh gosh, yeah, I can't wait for that. That's a good idea. You get it with your name on it. That I didn't think about that one, but that's actually a good idea. I did the whole Wentz thing, which is great for a little bit until it wasn't. But I repurposed it. It actually worked great because it's an AJ Brown jersey, and you wouldn't know any different. But I looked up a video on YouTube, and this guy sells the actual little sticker to it, and it's awesome. Now I've got an AJ Brown jersey. I didn't have to pay for it, but
yeah, my buddy did 2 Wentz jerseys and literally went to the dry cleaners and got it done. And I mean, you save yourself $140 something bucks a jersey. I mean, that's how much jerseys are now. They're not like $100 anymore. They're a lot more than that now. Obviously, with inflation, what we're dealing with now. It's I haven't bought a jersey in forever because really. Because sometimes I couldn't tell like who was going to be on. I mean, even a while ago, I couldn't really tell who was going to be on this team long term. That's true. You never really know. But that's good though. I'm glad you did that. Whoever did that, it's not a bad thing. Like it's the NFL knew that the Eagles knew at their shop people were gonna do that. So
they're absolutely going to do that. So you might as well, because people are trying to save a buck and don't want to have to spend the $150 like you say. So no, that'll be good. But they will take my money when the Kelly Green jerseys come out. I for sure will be paying for that. The question is, all right, which jersey am I going to get at that point? But I can't wait for those, man. They're going to be so fire.
Yeah, people were saying, maybe they'll release them before the season. I mean, they're not going to release them before the season starts because this is where they're going to make more money. They're going to make more money if they announce it that week. They're going to wear them. It's just going to force people to buy them that whole entire week or a couple weeks before or something like that for shipping and all that stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what they look like. As much as I wasn't a big fan of the word art in the beginning because I was like the word art on the midnight green just wasn't. I don't know. I've kind of grown to it. You see it in the end zone now. When you go to the game, you see it in the end zone. It's like it's really nice. It's actually really nice. It takes a while to get used to, but.
It does. It took me a long time. I'm with you. Like when they first, I was like, "Are you really? Come on! We had a good thing. You're like, don't change it. What are you doing? It's classic. It's iconic." And then all of a sudden, it happened. But it's growing on me. I agree. I kind of coming around. It's like that's all right. But it'll be interesting to see just kind of the makeup. And I know we've seen all these different like mock-ups on Twitter and social media and everywhere else of like, oh, this is what it could look like, or this is pretty good looking. But when they officially release it, I'm interested to see exactly the color dynamic in the scheme there. But either way, I mean, I can just guarantee you I'm going to be spending money on those jerseys.
I know. I don't know what I'm going to get. I'm still debating right now. I might do Devontae Smith. That's been like my top. But I don't know. I really like the Agent Zero jersey a lot. I don't know. I think it's like a one-of-a-kind jersey you definitely got to get. But who knows? We'll see. Since we're already hitting an hour, I know you probably got a lot to do, so I don't want to take up too much of your time tonight. And it's my fault because we were supposed to stream last week, and I had so many. It was just one of those weeks where, like, I was hitting a dead end every time I did something. It was just a really bad week last week, really bad. So I apologize for all that.
No, you're good. I'm glad we're able to get connected. I know how that goes. The weeks are crazy, especially this time of year. But no, I'm glad we're able to get connected here. That is having a good time. Always talking birds here. I was curious just to get your take too. I know obviously with all the OTAs, the speculation, we've talked about some of the positional battles. But do you think that, because I know this is one of them that people keep mentioning, and yes, it would have been great to have a different punter in a certain situation, and we can go back, and I don't really want to relive that certain scenario, that I'm talking about, but the Ty Zentner, Legatron, and you've got Aaron Siposs who are competing apparently, but reports looked like, I guess, that Siposs had a much better first couple days, but it's only a couple days. I mean, is this a big deal? I guess that's my question. I know guys can make mistakes. I know they can't play that great. I'm curious to see what a different punter would look like. But at the same time, there's so many other avenues that play into special teams here. So I don't know. Is it a big deal? Do you feel like we're going to get a different punter, or is Siposs going to win the job? Just curious.
I think Michael Clay needs another job. That's what I think. Okay.
I was surprised they re-signed him. They love him so much.
Now. A raise. A raise?
Yeah. Give him a raise. Yeah, for some reason.
Yes. I mean, I saw like the hang time was really good on some of his punts. I mean, what's really good about with Legatron is that he's a kicker as well. So he made like 11 out of 11 field goals last year, which is great. Mm-hmm. So at least, something happens to Jake Elliott and, then you have another guy. But no, I don't. Between him and that, that ex-Tennessee veteran punter that we had here, I forgot his name. It was pretty. Siposs was just like some random. It was like what, end of 21 they signed. I forgot. It was like the end of 21, like right after the season was over, they just signed him. Like, who is this guy? And then there really didn't have competition after. I feel like I don't know if Michael Clay plays favorites or like. I mean, it shows because they had Rager at punt return for so long, and then they had, Greg Ward, and then it was just like, Rager had that one good punt return, and that was it. They just kept him there, and they just kept him there for a while. I don't know. I hope there's a change. I think this is the third part of your game that probably a lot of people don't care about too much, but trust me, if you watch the Super Bowl, that's why it's a big difference. Punt middle of the field, and got all this room to run, whatever. But it hit the scoreboard. It hit the, I mean, did it? I think
the sky cam. It seemed like it, like being there in person, the ball did something really weird, but maybe he put some sort of side spin on I don't know, but I was like, that, please tell me. And you're telling me there's no way in this day and age that we could figure out or get a better camera angle to like verify it. I know. That to me is also really surprising. But I'm with you too. It's like whenever you're going to give the guy a raise, and yes, I do want competition. I want competition. I mean, at every position, like, it's iron sharpens iron. You get everyone better. And so that's great. But I think it was to your point, like 2021 since the last time they had any competition for punter. So Clay seems to be playing favorites or just doesn't really care for the competition in it. But I guess that's where I go back to is like, yes, getting a different punter or having some change up or even at least some competition is going to be a good thing. But I want to see some different moves on special teams, period. Like not just with a punter, but all around. And I think we all do. And I don't, maybe we're going to get to see that. Hopefully Michael Clay takes the next step because obviously the organization is very high on him. Apparently a lot of teams around the league were. That was something I couldn't fully wrap my head around because I'm going, did they watch the same season or like, am I overlooking something completely? Because it doesn't feel like he should be that highly sought after. Not that he's, the worst, but at the same time, I was like, okay, I'm trying to kind of put these pieces together. So I really want to see that part of the game kind of take the next step because, to your point, it's easy to watch the game and go, oh, there's offense, defense, but special teams, as we know in the Super Bowl, like that cost us that punt return. It's the longest in Super Bowl history, and that cost us for a huge reason there. So I want to see that next step.
Bad punt return, bad punt, and then, get beat on the same play twice and then, cover zero in red zone with no safety help. Yeah. I mean, great defense on top of a really bad special team. So thank you, Jonathan Gannon, for that. But, so the list on the two more things I just want to go over. The list for punt return, it was if I can remember, it was Covey. It was, I think it was Zacchaeus. Devin Allen wasn't on the list. Who else was on that list? Quez Watkins was on the list. What are you doing? What do you think of Covey just in general? Like, do you feel like it's more of a scheme where it's a blocking scheme where they're just not giving him enough time, or is it both because he's just too raw right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I want to think that it's kind of a blocking scheme. Hopefully, maybe he's at least he's held on the ball. There's times where he just takes some shots, and I'm like, well, at least he didn't fumble it. Like he's been reliable from that standpoint. But at the same time, it just, I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that we're Eagles fans and we're watching this, but it seems like a lot of times I watch other teams like, man, why couldn't we get that type of blocking? Like, why couldn't we have something set up that way? So maybe there's something to it, but yeah, I don't know. It feels like he's just a very middle of the road. At least he's pretty reliable. He's not gonna you don't want your guy to be having a lot of muffs or fumbling all the time or things like that. But in terms of can he do something dangerous after he's catching it or fielding it? I don't know. And again, it comes back to, well, is that the blocking as much as the player, or is it vice versa? Is it the player who's really not making those plays there, and he's just kind of saying, well, okay, got the ball, fair catch, or just get a couple yards and go down? Yeah. I don't know, but I'd want to see the possibility of put a different guy back there, maybe Olamide Zacchaeus, as one of those. It'd be interesting to see. I know he did it a little bit in Atlanta, so I haven't looked up extensively to see like how successful he was in that, but throw someone back there, see if they could get something else going, because you need a little bit of a jolt. Don't get me wrong, this offense is good enough, very good, to even if you're just fair catch it every single time and don't fumble the ball. But it helps if you can say, oh, cool, we got a 20-yard return, or oh, we got a touchdown, we got a punt return on it. Like add a little bit of fire to the offense there. Right. So I don't know, we'll see.
I'm not even a fan of Boston Scott on kick returns. I feel like they just don't have the right guy. I feel like they're just putting guys there. I don't know. Like, you sign Devin Allen and it's like, he's winning, he's winning the Olympics and doing all this crap in the Olympics. And, it's like, man, awesome. Like, he's got determination. He's got work ethic. It's like, look at this guy in the Olympics, and then like, they signed him to a 3-year deal, and it was like, I felt like they just really wanted him. I mean, the guy hasn't played an NFL snap. He wasn't in the NFL for like 6 years, since really he went to Oregon. And then it was just like they didn't use him. They didn't really do anything with him. Covey was brought up 3 times, because after you bring a practice squad guy up 3 times, you can't put him back. You could put him back for good on the practice squad, or you keep him on the roster. So, I felt like they needed to do more balance at punt return, at least get some, just try some guys out or something. But they call him Crash Test Covey for a reason, because he was running into
there's a reason for that nickname. He's good at it. I mean, kudos to him for
I think he's got some talent. Like, I think he's quick. I mean, really, like, he was one of my favorite guys coming into the offseason, because I looked at like all his highlight tape. It was just like, the guy like could fit between every little bit of space that he could get. And I'm not saying he's got no future or anything like that. I think he was just way too raw. I just think it was he needed more time. But the only way you're going to find out is being thrown into the fire. And I think that's the only way you're really going to know, and to get better than just being on practice squad and just being a punt returner at practice. Is going to be more to it than that. So Zacchaeus is interesting too, because, but we'll get into that. Because this really goes to the last thing. Now, from the DeAndre Hopkins news to wide receiver 3 to Quez Watkins, what do you and now obviously Zacchaeus being signed? How do you think this wide receiver core at wide receiver 3 connects with DeAndre Hopkins? And what do you think of the position in general as of right now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not totally opposed to D-Hop, but it's a move that you don't have to make, which is great. It's the luxury to have, that you don't really just immediately jump out of your seat and say, we have to have D-Hop. Does he make you better? Yes, from a just, statistically or like in terms of how good of a player he is. But the question that I have that I'm more concerned about is just the locker room presence, and even if that's fine, then, we only have so many mouths to feed. And so there were already reports of, last season, you've got guys who are, like AJ Brown, not fully happy about it. I don't think he was like, angered by it in any way, but that was last season. So if you add another guy like DeAndre Hopkins who commands or, is hoping to get the ball thrown his way a decent amount, then, you're taking it away from, is it AJ Brown? Is it Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert? Like there's so many other options there. So to me, I feel like, and I may be in the minority here, but I feel like it would be a detriment to add D-Hop to this team. And that may sound crazy, but I like the squad. I like the squad the way that it is, the makeup. Yes, if he was there for depth, that's been an argument that I've heard too. But you don't go sign a guy like D-Hop to say, hey, if we get our third string, receiver injured, then you can come in and play. Like he's not going to do that, and so it doesn't really work that way. But I don't know. To me, I'm not super excited about D-Hop. I'm not really saying let's go get him. And for the wide receiver 3, we got the battle obviously between Quez and Olamide Zaccheaus that. I think it's 50-50. I feel like the Eagles are hopeful that Quez can take that next step. Obviously, competition is a good thing. And so you bring a guy in like Zaccheaus that kind of emphasizes, hey, Quez, you need to take that next step. Like you need to have this season. I love that he reacted on Twitter and he said he's going to make everyone eat their work. Yeah. Okay, sure. Light a fire under you. That's great. I want to see it. And so, early reports are, or I guess he had the first catch from 7-on-7. So cool, great. But that's not in the Super Bowl. So can you do it in the big moments? Like, can you do it when it matters? Not whenever it's 7-on-7. So that's the question. And I don't know. But to have another guy like Zaccheaus, I think it will be great. And even if let's say Quez gets the third spot, let's say that he starts, having some drops or just not playing as well, you slot in Zaccheaus. I think having someone who's got some experience like that, has made some plays, and curious to see what he looks like in a slot position as well. It could be good, but I'm excited about what this team would look like, whether it is Quez or you bring in Zaccheaus. But I think it'll be one of those two. If I had to pick today, if you forced me to say who's going to be wide receiver 3, I think it'll be Quez. I think just with him being here in the system. But again, the competition is never a bad thing. I'm definitely for that.
Yeah, the Hopkins situation is interesting, and I've said in plenty of videos, every time I'm like, Hopkins update, every day I'm just like, Hopkins update, nothing's happening, but let me just report this. Teams that really need him, I don't think the Eagles need him. I've said it in many videos that the Eagles just don't need him. I mean, yeah, it'd be great if he was coming in through a cheap deal. This passing game goes through, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. That's what was told, and that's what we know. Okay. If he's not going to be selfish, and he's going to be into the culture and all that stuff, but I feel like there's more to it than that. As much as he can name the top 5 quarterbacks he wants to play with, now all the other quarterbacks know that, he doesn't want to play with any of them. So if he signs to another team, I don't know. You got to look at other teams now. Like obviously
I'm glad that Dallas and Dak can know at least that he's not anywhere close to the top 5. So that was, if there's a win coming from it, that was the most exciting part of it. But.
Yeah. They should feel embarrassed. Like he was just like,
no.
Like, no. Let's just skip that. I'm not going to comment on that. Like teams like, I think really like that need those marquee moves is like Dallas needs that marquee move badly. I mean, as much as I feel like it's just excuse after excuse with Dak Prescott every single year, let's change coordinators. Let's have Mike McCarthy call the plays now. You know what I mean? Like it's, I felt like their draft was the most exciting. Like on the Philly Shakedown, our stream was attacked literally when Deuce Vaughn was signed. Deuce Vaughn. Okay. And I feel like they didn't even want Deuce Vaughn. I felt like his father was in there and he was like, draft my son. And they were like, okay, let's draft your son. And that was pretty much it. And they were just like, that was the best pick, not Shoemaker, whatever his name is, the tight end that they wanted when they really wanted, when the Bills jumped in front to get what's his face, tight end
from Notre Dame. Is it Michael Meyer?
No, if you say the name, I'll know it immediately. No, I forgot who it was.
Did they get Kincaid?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because I in all the mock drafts, and I kept saying like the Packers are going to get Kincaid, and for some reason in my head I was like, oh, they got, but no, they
didn't. You have the drafted mock draft? Were you the one that had the mock draft on Twitter where you had Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter, and you were like,
yeah. I posted it, and like everyone, oh, this is never going to happen. That's ridiculous. You're stupid. Why are you posting stuff like that? I'm like, I just used what the simulator gave me. Okay. So like, I didn't go and make this up to make it work, but then sure as the world, it turned out that way. I'm like, okay, well, dude, I got to go pin this comment. So
with Howie Roseman, you never know. This is what happened. So like when Jalen Hurts was working out with AJ Brown and they took that picture, like I've made a video about it, but not because of AJ Brown coming to the Eagles. I said, oh, that would be cool. But like, Jalen Hurts is working his tail off this offseason. Look at him working out, great.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it actually happened, people were like, oh, this would never happen. No, never, but you never know, man.
No.
You never know.
Yeah. And that's why I think we've all said, I've watched, your shows too. You talk about the D-Hop. Hey, here's the D-Hop update. Here's what's going on, all this other stuff. But it's like, we're going to talk about it because it's the news, it's the speculation, it's the possibilities. But at the same time, like, I'm just as quick to say, I don't think this is going to happen. I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but it still wouldn't surprise me in this world with Howie Roseman, like you're talking about, because he's looking at every single avenue of possibility. What could they do? It's like, if there's ever a free agent out there, it's not like, oh, they're available. Maybe not. Like Howie's, I can almost guarantee you, he's running the numbers. He's saying, well, does this make sense? Let's see if this is a possibility here. Well, what would it take? And that's why he's so great at his job, because he's always 5 steps ahead of everybody else. So it's never absolutely out of the realm of possibility. But, to your point, there are some craziness out there of, we don't know. We don't know what's actually going to happen.
Josh, just remember, like, people will let you know when you're wrong. People won't let you know
so much more often than that
is 100. Social media in general, that is the truth to it all. Like when videos are opinionated. Just because I make a video doesn't mean it's 100% true fact. This is just my opinion of what's going to happen. But is it going to happen? I have no idea. It's up to you guys to decide whether it's going to happen or not. Not because I'm like, oh, this is what I know. I have inside. So no, I don't. When it comes to even wide receiver 3, and I think even with Quez, I think I still think they really like Quez a lot. And I know somebody that knows Quez's trainer. And the trainer for Quez says he's been really working his tail off this offseason. But be bulk, obviously we saw the news. He bulked up a little bit. He looked like he bulked up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And look, he was humble. He said it was a bad year. I mean, it was, we found out about the grade 2 shoulder sprain, but to give him one of the most important catches that he has to make when he's not playing consistent games.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense to me why you put him, like, put Devontae Smith in that somebody in that position. Why you put the guy that's really not playing every single game in that position to make a catch like that right through his hands? Hurts played fantastic, even though as much as people can blame the scoop and score, but he came back. Like he didn't have they were still up by 10 points they were still up by 10 points at that time. So it's like, it's not like that was detrimental. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was a mistake, but just imagine like a crucial thing, like they're doing a QB sneak, Samal goes off sides. And it's like that changed that, that moment changed that whole entire drive.
Mm-hmm.
So that little thing, Eagles are very good on those QB sneaks. Now with these running backs here, I feel like, now less pressures be taken off where Hurts has to use his body so much. As much as I don't want to handicap Hurts. I don't want to take his legs away, because I feel like that's a big part of our game where these receivers he's going to make these receivers look really good by extending plays with his legs or running on his own. They could still use Quez and Zaccheaus if they really want, because I think Zaccheaus can be used for a lot of different things. Really, Zaccheaus in a really bad offense with the Falcons. Over 500 yards, his best season with 2 touchdowns, I think it was. It was still really averaging 13 yards a catch, whatever it was. It was a pretty good year for him. So to add another guy like that, I have no issue. When they did that, Quez, everyone was like taking Quez off. They were pretty much calling him off the board, and they were like, oh, Zaccheaus, it's going to be our new guy, because we could have.
They let him hear it. So.
Oh yeah, we could have
talk about people letting you know when you're wrong. Like they definitely let Quez hear it. If they didn't before, as soon as Zaccheaus was announced, it was like the number of people that just direct messaged or just put him on blast on a tweet. It was like, oh my gosh, like take it easy on the guy. I get that, you're upset about it, but come on. But yeah, it's good. I think that competition is really a big benefit.
If I can get like a penny for every time somebody said I don't know what I'm talking about, I'd be a millionaire.
Yeah,
right now. I would be in a palace right now with like gold plated bathroom, everything. Whatever it is.
Never gets old. You
But
can count on that. That's a guarantee. So.
but no, I feel like I'm not into the DeAndre Hopkins thing. Like everyone's, like we don't need it. Like if we didn't have AJ Brown, like sure, like would definitely do it, but we don't. We have two bona fide number ones. I mean, we really do, because at the end of the day, like I feel like Devontae Smith's going to have a bigger season this year. I think he'll lead the team in yards. I think AJ Brown will have more catches, but I think yardage wise, I think Devontae Smith will have a huge year this year. And the third wide receiver spot's always like, it's a crappy spot. Like I would not want to play that position because you're not the main focal point. You're that third option. So there were times where Quez went out for passes, or like Quez wouldn't know the ball was coming. There was a lot of times where Quez didn't know the ball was coming, and like, he was supposed to be in a certain spot and he wasn't, or wasn't paying attention at the time. Like, and then the Washington game where, we should have won that game, still would have been undefeated. I'm glad they weren't. Being undefeated is like, yeah, it's nice to be undefeated, but I think once they lost that game, it kind of like reset themselves. The pressure was kind of off a little bit.
Yeah.
The Dallas Goedert face mask, and then like Quez gets it. Jalen Hurts was just like, these throws that he made were ridiculous, and then Quez got back up, fumbled the ball. It was just a down year for him. I mean, it was nice to see him like live at the Vikings game when he was wide open downfield for that touchdown. It was great. But like I said, you can't quit on the guy. This is a contract year for Quez, and they can always use both of these guys for different things. Zaccheaus is a little bit, he's only a foot smaller than Quez. I think they're the same weight almost, but they're both burners. But with Zaccheaus, he's a pure slot guy, which I like. And I like that if they have to move Quez, they could do that, because really at the end of the day, I don't know what you think about the depth at wide receiver, obviously with the undrafted guys at Rambo and Jaden Hasselwood, and some of these guys that they love bringing in these guys that play with Jalen Hurts, the chemistry and stuff like that. So I don't know what if AJ Brown goes down, would you go after a Julio Jones? If you know what I mean? What do you think depth wise at receiver? Like what would you kind of do there if it's not a DeAndre Hopkins type move?
Yeah. I think, to your point, I mean, if there's an injury, or someone goes down, that you might see a move, but otherwise, I think it's kind of set with you're gonna whittle it down to 5-6 receivers and say, here's what we're rolling with for the season. So, I don't know. I mean, you've even got a guy like a Joseph Ngata, who's, a potential name to throw out there as someone they'd like, some size and some athleticism. So, it's good to have that competition. But I think for right now, I would be shocked if they made any move to that receiver room in terms of, adding other players, because I think they're like at 10 or 11 receivers already. So, let's just figure out what the first 5 or 6 are going to be there. And then, if you need something on later on down the line, but it could be a situation of you go through the season. If one of your top guys gets injured, especially if it's for a significant amount of time, then you might look at making a deal, whether it's a trade or sign someone who's on the couch, staying in shape, and you get the veteran to come back, something like that. But for the time being, I love where we're at. I mean, like you said there, the competition, Zaccheaus being that pure slot, I think that he's shifty. I feel like, and I know that you can go back to the whole drop percentage and saying that Quez actually is lower than Zaccheaus, but if we're talking about like in bigger moments, I feel like Zaccheaus, as of right now, is more of that consistent, whereas Quez is the threat. Like he's the weapon. You're not going to see as often of a Zaccheaus just, burn the defense and outrun everybody. And so I think that's why, I think it was a surprising, yes, that Quez was the guy that had the play called for him in the Super Bowl, but maybe that was the reason why, because you can catch the Chiefs sleeping, because like, oh, well, they're not going to throw it to Quez. It's going to AJ or it's going to Devontae. Like Quez is not going to do something. Okay, there he goes on a go route or a cross or a deep slant, and then that he doesn't catch it. So if he can take that next step, I would love to see it, because as we know, teams key off of AJ and Devontae and Goddard so much. I think if he can take that next step, because teams are going to try to force Jalen. Like, I solely believe in Jalen, and I think all of us do, and obviously the Eagles, because they gave him all the money and all that. But teams are going to have a full offseason to scout and to look at film and say, what does Jalen do well and what does he not? And try to figure out ways to make him have to make other throws. And I feel like the great equalizer could be, if Quez can take that next step, like take the top off the defense and keep the safeties honest. But if you say, well, nope, they're going to keep locked on Devontae and AJ, it could be a little bit more difficult. I still think that Jalen's going to be fine because he's got so many weapons and he's made so many strides already, and he's going to continue working. But I think that Quez could be that X factor if he can play big in those big moments, because he can make some plays every once in a while. But like we've been talking about, it's like in the biggest moments, it's like there's a fumble, there's a drop, or there's just a big mistake there. So I don't know. I'm excited to see it. I think your receiver room is set as it is, and just figure out who those top 5 or 6 end up being.
Yeah, I think you have a roster here that can, offensively, can get you 35 plus points a game. It's there.
Yeah,
like you said, that third option has got to be more productive, and I think that's true. I think having these running backs is going to be a major contribution. These running backs can get to the second level, and obviously, if you distribute the football very well between all these running backs on top of your passing game, it's going to be really dangerous. You're not going to know what to do at this point. So it's a lot of low risk, high reward type moves this offseason. Obviously, the draft was great. It was killer. Third really good offseason for the Eagles just in general when it comes to drafting. And, the more you draft, the less cap you got to spend. The more you draft, you're built for years. The window is wide open for the Eagles right now. We're in the golden years of the Philadelphia Eagles right now. I mean, we are.
Absolutely. It's incredible. I just the way that Howie restructured the restructuring, or kind of the extension with Hurts and getting all his money freed up. I mean, it's for sure the next 4, but it's even funny because the people that are saying, well, it's only 4 years and then you're going to have to pay for it. It's like, no, because then you get the 4 years and then you restructure, extend, and make up. It's like it is so greatly. It's so great setup right now, and Howie's structured the cap as only he can, because he's the wizard at it. But I can't ever remember being this excited about just long-term potential with this team, where we're at and the guys on it ever. I mean, in my life, I really can't remember a time where I've been just so hyped up. And there's obviously been teams in the past that have been really good and even winning the Super Bowl. But if you're talking about going into a season and not just saying, oh, we have this season to win, it's like, I mean, the sky's the limit for this group. So I am so hyped about it.
Yeah, I mean, really, or the final pieces to the puzzle, like, because you could be paper champs at the end of the day in the offseason, but the final piece of the puzzle is the coaching. I mean, that's, as much as I'm not really worried about Brian Johnson so much, I felt like going into this offseason, we really needed him to stay, because I felt like him and Hurts had that really good relationship with each other, and he's learned a lot from Steichen, and so I'm not really worried offensively too much. It's really the defense where I'm kind of like, I feel like they can add another piece, another 2 pieces, a piece or 2 pieces to the defense, and really just get this thing going. Like you said, sky's the limit for this team. And, we knew when they were coming in with 2 first-round picks this offseason that, there were going to be a lot of opportunity for different things. Were they going to trade a pick back? Were they, they were doing that thing where they were trading back a first-rounder and getting another first-rounder and another, you know what I mean? So, but not only does Howie work on the draft stuff and actually draft the players of need, like badly, but he's making trades on the late second day, third day, something like that, where he's kind of getting those picks ready for 24 on top of paying a quarterback, which between this year and next year for Jalen Hurts is like 19 against the cap, which is just his highest cap numbers. I think is his last year at 30, and it probably won't even hit that, because they'll do his deal again.
It's crazy. It is crazy. He's killed it with that deal. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. I had a really good time today. I could sit here and talk to you 10 hours, all night. I mean, it doesn't matter.
I could too, man. I appreciate it. I probably better run. I think my wife is needing some help with a little one at this point. But seriously, I mean, just inviting me on. This is a blast. We definitely have to do it again. I watch the show, like I say, all the time, especially the shakedown on Saturday nights. You guys have a blast. It gives me a whole lot of laughs too.
We will get you on. We will get you on there. No doubt. We're just having fun. That's all. So
that would be great. That'd be awesome.
There is 161 people in the chat. I'm sorry the chat didn't really work today. I don't know. I'm going to do another test run on it next week and see what happens. Like, I haven't streamed on StreamYard. Usually I'm just getting invited to Philly 500 stream thing. So I'll check on that. But appreciate all the super chats. Everybody supported the stream today. Make sure you guys support Josh. Subscribe to his channel. His channel just hit over 5,000 subscribers. The Philly special show. if you want all that professional editing Eagles videos, you go to his channel and check it out instead of me mumbling the whole time showing slides. Back PowerPoint back in like early like 2005. So yeah, other than that, any last words to say? Anything about the season? Anything you're good to go?
Not really. I mean, if we could somehow just fast forward this up, I'm all for the competition, the training. This is where the season's won, so I know the team needs it, but like for my own personal selfish reasons, I just really wish the season would get here earlier. So, but no, I appreciate it again, man. Thanks for having me on. This was a blast.
All right, everybody, you guys enjoy. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. It's in the link below in the description. Definitely click on it, subscribe, and click the bell. So, all right, we'll see you guys later. Remember, Shake Squad up, follow slide. Peace out, guys. Peace out.